Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Thanks, Bryce. Good. How was the soccer assignment? Yeah, that assignment is. I think it's. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think that assignment is. It has too many different options and no clear uh, way for students to complete it. So every time I run it, I'm using a different technique and find something new to do with it. So everything is graded in Module 3 except for that assignment, and I probably grade that maybe either Wednesday morning, Tuesday morning, or Wednesday morning. I should have it pretty much completed, and really, if I'm being totally honest, I'm not going to grade it for correctness. It's going to be more so graded for an attempt. Did you at least try an approach? Did you try to get results? And uh, and then on APA format, that's pretty much what I'm gonna grade it on. So um, if you've done that, you should get a pretty good grade on it. So all right. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Okay, I guess that's a no. Um, and on assignment one for week three, there was two assignments. But on assignment one, the one about data quality and stuff like that, everybody did pretty good on that. There was a couple students that missed out on the data quality definition, and some things were partially met. So just put a little bit more attention, making sure that you are meeting all the requirements. One of the easiest way to do that is create a checklist. And one of the things, for example, with a couple of the people that missed the data quality aspect of it and data shape and stuff. Well, if you looked at their presentation, they did basically like a agenda on what they're going to cover, and use if they would have just taken their PowerPoint agenda and matched it to the requirements for the assignment, they would have saw that data quality and shape was missing. Those aspects of the assignments were missing. So uh, still, there are some challenges with APA format. One of the things I want to say is when you do an in-text citation, some people put a period at the end of the sentence that they're quoting, then they put the citation, and then they put a period after the citation. Well, you just really need to put the citation inside of that first period and don't include the second one. So um, that's one of the ways. That's I saw a couple of people doing that. So, but only thing you need to do, the punctuation goes after the in-text citation. That's the rule. And then a couple of people got feedback about the title pages on their PowerPoint presentation. So really, the PowerPoint is really not about your creativity and trying to make it pretty and all of that. You just basically need to follow the format for the APA style, where you have the required information on, like the professor name, the school, and that stuff. Some people just put their name on it and then put the rest of that information on there. And so I notated that on their specific feedback. Then the other thing is, like I was telling you last week, in terms of how I made sure that I incorporate uh, the instructor's feedback from assignment to assignment. And we're in week just finished week 3 and submitted 3 assignments. And there are still people that are, you know, I've given them the same feedback week after week, and they continue to do the same thing, which means to me that they're not reading the feedback and they're not listening to the tech lives, because I'm doing that every week in the tech live, and I'm also doing it in the feedback to the student. So you just want to make sure that you're not missing out on easy points. And then what'll happen is, you know, they'll come back at the end of the semester and ask me, can I give extra credit? So, and there's no need for extra credit if you just do what you need to do. And extra credit mean, can you really give me some stuff so I can do so I can pass the class? So just make sure you're following up and using the information um, that I'm providing and that's in the course. What else? Is there anything else? So one of the things I guess I pointed out on the assignments, but here you're going to have to use some math techniques on week 4, actually week 4, 5, and 6. So, all right. So if there's no other questions, I can't think of anything else. Okay, I can't think of anything else. So let's go ahead and get started with module 4. All right, so notice module 4, um, the module learning objectives. By the end of this module, students will be able to compare business models that are appropriate for each type of analytical solution, construct a model using statistical analysis of a data set in a business problem. So, why is the lesson important? So, now that we have gone through many different types of statistical measurements, much like in Module 3, you would have the chance to put some of these measurements into practice when answering a question or problem. Being able to match up your business problems or requests to the type of analytics is an important step. As you have learned in previous lessons, the different levels of analytics have basic requirements to successfully provide an accurate or thoughtful result. So basically, what they're saying is you got to make sure that you're using the right data based on the levels of measurements, the analytical framework that you're going to be using. Okay. So in Kaggle notebook, predicting car prices using ML regression models, the author demonstrates how to predict car prices using various machine language regression models. That's what the ML stands for. By analyzing and pre-processing vehicle data, engineering features, and comparing model performance, as stated in the introduction to the article. Okay, so notice they give you uh, an example here where they said the goal of this project was to build a predictive model for car prices. So the progress began with loading the data, reviewing it, and conducting exploratory data analysis. After understanding the structure and the properties of the data, it was split into a training set and a test set. And then various regression techniques, linear regression, ridge lasso, and elastic net were implemented. And don't worry about the those terms were implemented, and their performance were compared. So the model performance were visualized graphically to determine the most suitable approach. In other words, what does the data look like? Is it symmetrical? Is it left skewed, right skewed? Finally, features importance was assessed, and a final model was developed for prediction uh, purposes. And so, when I talk about this is a research course, when you start analyzing your data and things like that, then you may have to do additional research to get a better understanding of what you're trying to do. And so that's going to require you to go out, search for other articles, and try to make sure your data fits the model that you're choosing. And so notice they talk about this session and a lesson walkthrough, uh, selected highlights of the above articles. So what you see below is a snapshot of the data set. And guys, when you're working your projects, don't submit the data set to me, because that's like I was saying last week. It's just a lot of, because it's going to be specifically in these assignments. When you go out and submit all that data to me, it takes forever for whatever you're trying to analyze to show up. So I don't need the data unless you've cleansed the data or something like that. You just tell me what you cleaned. You don't need to submit the whole data set, and you just go ahead and use the data set to, the way you do. Now, if you're using Excel and you want to put that data set as a tab, then it is what it is. It's just going to come through like that. But if you can avoid it, don't submit all of that data because it just slows everything down. Okay, so here's the data set that they're looking at. They're going through and they ran descriptive statistics on the data. And so you see these up here are your descriptive statistics. And then they go through and they look at the shape of the data. And so notice that they're telling you that there's a positive skew. Okay. And they're just looking at different data. Now, the other thing about APA, a lot of people are using images like this. You need to still make sure that you are formatting that in APA. Still, a lot of people are not using APA for their images. I gave you a PowerPoint in week 1, so you can use that as a guide. And so here's the prediction errors of the linear regression, and they just go through and show you the little analysis that they're doing. They give you some university enrollment data, okay, and they go through and show you how they get the statistics. And now these data files are going to be very similar to the assignment data files. Okay, so this is you make sure you read this when you're trying to do that analysis, because these data sets are basically the same data sets. And then your descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. Okay, and so notice this is going to be very helpful to you also. Um, so notice this final article, types of variables, descriptive statistics, and sample size, covers the concepts of variables, the importance and practical aspects related to descriptive statistics, and issues related to sampling. Okay, and so click on the icon in the upper right hand corner um, to print or download this resource. And that's, here, the print button. But this is going to help you with your assignment. So make sure you read through this. And then this article here, what is diagnostics analytics? Click on it, just make sure. So notice that it works. And they go through and explain what diagnostic analytics are. And then what is predictive analytics? So here's the article on predictive analytics. And then they get into how do you construct a model. Okay. And they talked about the 7 practical guides for accurate statistical model building. So that article works. And then the top 20 most popular statistical models. And they go through and talk about what they are. And some of these you're not going to use. Most of these you're not going to use. Okay. Any questions so far on anything in that assignment? All right. Okay. Thank you for the feedback. And like I said, here's some the reference page. You may be able to use these, or if not these, there may be articles within each one of these references that may be usable. Okay. All righty. Where am I? I'm trying to get out of here. I done lost my next button. Let me just go back. All right. So, all right. So that's preparing you for module 4. So now if we look at module 4, and we start looking at the assignments for module 4. So notice you have a discussion comparing models. The first post is going to be due Thursday, like always. Okay, so the post is going to be due Thursday by 11:59 p.m. And then by Sunday, you have to post your two posts to your feedback by 11:59 on Sunday. Discussion question for this week is the module 4 lesson highlighted examples of business problems and requests along with models that could be used to address them. For this discussion, you're going to provide an example of a real world business problem or request, one that is not highlighted in the lesson. Then you're going to identify two models: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, or prescriptive, that could be used to address the problem or request. How would they be used? So use that as a header in your feedback on your discussion. And is one better than the other? Why or why not? So include sufficient reasoning to support your position, and then respond to your two classmates by due date. Okay, so Michael is the only one that has posted. He looked like he has his in-text citations, and he just did the original post. Thanks, Michael. All right, and then we have the module 4 assignment. So statistical model. So the overview says for this assignment, you will construct a statistical model using a provided data set in Excel to answer a business question. Please see the specific instructions below. So it says, in this week, we are building a statistical model in Excel that answers a business question. Please review the guidance and resources provided in the Module 4 lesson before working on the assignment. For this assignment, select one of the cases presented in the tab. So we got 3 cases here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Examine your data for whichever case you pick. Review the quality of the data and select the type of statistical measure you would need to answer the question associated with your selected case. Then construct a statistical model in Excel that can be used to answer the question associated with your selected case. Your model must be accurate, complete, and appropriately designed for the problem you choose. All Excel formulas and calculations must be visible. Do not only show the final result. And the way you do that is, you put your formulas in there. That's showing your work in Excel. All right. And so here you have a fast food data set. So notice here the question to answer is, should we increase the number of drive-through lanes? Okay. So this spreadsheet has three columns: net profit, counter sales, and drive-through sales. Net profit is based on both types of sales, counter and drive-through. So here are some questions you can answer of this data set. You can ask of this data set. What are the volumes for each type of service? What are the summary descriptive statistics? And what does that indicate? What is the shape of the data? And what type of statistics would answer the question? Okay, and the question being this here. With these questions answered, you know what to do, where to start, and what your expectations are. So that's on the fast food. Then you have one for food and trends, and then you have one for STEM. Okay. All right. Any questions on anything for the assignment? All right. And then Tech Live, which we are in right now. All right. So this is obviously a short week in terms of the Tech Live. Does anybody have any specific questions about anything? All good, Bryce? Ivalyn, no questions? All right. If there are no other questions, I guess we'll go ahead and end tonight. Give you some time back. And everyone have a good night and good week. All right. My mouse doesn't want to act right. What's going on?